Look, I know you're the specialist. Look, I respect you, the specialist. But okay, if we look at a resume, for example, what does it have? Your skill set. LinkedIn has your skill set. Your work history. It has your work history. What are your degrees?
That's what your CV's got. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Is there maybe my CV's basic? Maybe
How many
it's
pages is your CV?
One. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem. I got a one-page resume. Maybe that's why I've had struggles trying to find jobs in the past. But yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Black Wealth Connect. This is a very exciting episode because we're going to be talking about how it is that you're able to get a financial role within recruitment. We have a specialist that's sitting on the opposite side of me and very inspirational. I reached out to her because some of the stuff that she's also doing in the community, which has inspired me a lot, and it's also inspired a lot of people. So without any further ado, I want to introduce Edem. Thank you very much for being on Black Wealth Connect. I really appreciate you taking your time to come sit down with me.
Thank you for having me.
No, awesome. And I got your name correct, yeah, this time? Because I've been struggling with it.
It's an easy mistake to make.
Do a lot of people make those mistakes?
Edem, yeah.
Okay.
I guess it reads as Edem, but it's pronounced Edem, yeah. So
okay, fair enough. Yeah, because it was like, even with the Instagram handle, I think that prior to this, as we talked about the episode and getting ready for everything, you know, I did screw up in that and you corrected me in a good way. Because even when I read the email, I was like, oh, serious? All this time I thought it had a dot in there.
No, yeah. So my Instagram handle is eh.dem, and that's how you thought my name was spelled.
Yeah, I know. But if I would have actually said it to you, I would have been like, hi, ed.em. I would have been like, so embarrassing. But awesome. Now, thank you very much again for being on the show. So we're going to talk about like a lot of the stuff that you've done, as I mentioned, within the community, but also your role, your professional role, what you do in terms of recruitment for people that are looking for roles within the financial space. So before we get into all of that, I want to talk about the first time we actually met, because I was trying to think about it when I was putting the questions together. I was asking myself, like, when is the first time that I actually met Edem? Because I know your siblings well. Safaka, which is, she's a lawyer too, which, shout out to Safaka. I will actually get her on the platform because she's doing a lot of amazing things too for the community and just a lot of the stuff that she's doing. But yeah, I was trying to figure out, where did I meet Edem? So you told me that you knew. So like, are you able to tell me like how this happened? Like, yeah, if you got a better memory than me, then please tell me.
You know what? I am trying to myself remember. The first interaction I can recall is with a family friend, Abby.
Okay.
I think that was some 10 years ago. But I thought, oh, we're both Ghanaian, so we just know of each other in the Ghanaian community. But you're not Ghanaian.
So how long did it take you to discover I'm not Ghanaian? Did you just learn that today, or was this
afternoon when I came in, and I was talking to one of the guys, and I was like, yeah, Fab and I know each other. We just move around the same community because we're both Ghanaian. He's like, pretty sure he's Congolese.
What was your response when you found that I was? Like, all this time you were thinking I'm Ghanaian. Was it because I just hung around like a lot of Ghanaian people and stuff like that growing up?
That's it. It's like, we know so many of the same people.
That's true.
It just felt like that's the obvious thing.
That's true, especially in Sydney too. It's a small space. You know, people think Sydney is so huge, but it's actually not as big as what people think. It isn't. You can always find. So how was Edem, how was your childhood like? I mean, growing up, were you born here? Were you born like overseas? So or just your upbringing. How did that go?
I describe my childhood as a happy upbringing.
Okay.
I feel very lucky to have grown up the way I did.
Oh, beautiful.
I was born in Ghana, moved to London probably when I was 9 months.
That explains your accent. Sorry to cut you off.
My accent, that is the craziest thing because I hear Australian in my ear.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know, for me, you have a combination of both. But yeah, sorry to cut you off. Yeah,
That's okay.
Yeah.
When I think about my upbringing, I think about a happy home. I think about a big family because I come from a family of 6, 2 parents, 3 sisters. And my fondest memory, I guess, is my parents and how much they supported ambition.
Yeah.
They're always like, you can do whatever you put your mind to it. If you put your mind to it, you can do it.
That's interesting. Where do you think they got that from? Like in terms of like that, because especially coming from, they were born overseas.
In Ghana,
In
correct.
Ghana, yeah. So did they bring that motivation and that spirit from there, or did their parents instill that in them?
I think it's a bit of both. I think their parents would have instilled it in them. But for my mum, I think for her, she didn't get the opportunity that she maybe would have liked. So she wants to be sure that her children do get that opportunity.
Oh, wow.
And then for my dad, he, traveled, he went to boarding school, he worked overseas, he studied overseas. So he's had that opportunity. So he just also wants to make sure his kids get access to full opportunity as well. That's kind of how I see it. So
that's motivating. Yeah. So they were always motivating you guys, no matter what you guys wanted to do. They always kind of had your back type of thing.
Always. And there's nothing that we tell them what to do and they'd be like, that's crazy. They'd be like, give it a go, see where you end up.
You know what? I think that's really good, because it's like, I think that especially being parents, they should put that into their kids, because there's no limitation to what anyone can become in this world today. We see people, like even our role models or people that we look up to, some of the stuff that they're doing in life, it's like, how did you even get up there? But they're humans like us. They do the same things as us, but it's just about determination. We even talked about that on the phone a bit.
Exactly. Having a good support system that can just confirm and, I guess, reaffirm that you're not crazy, that what you're doing is within reach, and just to keep on doing it.
And I think Kanye West has proven that anyone literally that wants to do anything can do anything,
it reminds me of a quote. The people who are crazy to change the world or think they can change the world are the ones that do.
The ones that actually do. I think that came from Steve Jobs, was it?
It is.
Yeah, Steve Jobs quote, because I read one of his books, which is, I forget the title, don't ask me, but it was, and I believe that theory too, because you have to think it before you can do it.
That's it.
And if you don't think that you're able to do that stuff, then you're just going to fail. And it all starts from the mind, definitely. So what are the things, like, in terms of like your schooling and stuff, did you go to school here, or what was, I know you said you were born in Ghana, but you didn't do any schooling in Ghana, did you?
No, so primary school through to high school to university have all done here. So all my education has been in Sydney. And
I know you were talking to Martin earlier, which is our camera guy. Shout out to Martin, say about what some of the stuff that you guys have studied. What is it that you studied during your school after you graduated?
University. I did communications. I majored in public relations. So the focus there is really how you can sell a story or tell a story. Or pitch a product or pitch a person, because there are various streams you can go through. You can be a publicist and really improve someone's brand, or you can be a PR person and improve a company's brand. So that's what I studied. And then post my studies, I thought I'd do a postgraduate. And in that, I was going to do a thesis. I didn't end up pursuing it, but I bring it up because it's something you and I spoke about. And the thesis was looking at success, comparing two people with the exact same lived experiences, and trying to figure out, well, what's the one defining factor that differs those two people from, I guess, each other. So one has ended up being a successful multimillionaire. And the other maybe struggling financially, can't hold a job down, but they've had the same two lived experiences up until like their adulthood. And what's that drive that one person was able to
do it and the other
get it done and the other person wasn't.
And you never came to really understand how that actually happens, is it?
No, because I guess I wanted to measure it as something tangible. So with how emotions are regulated in the brain, there's a part of our brain that's responsible for that regulation of emotions. It's an actual physical thing that you can see. Scientifically, it's been proven that.
What's that called, sorry?
I want to say the amygdala.
Okay, amygdala.
But for my science people listening, I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Don't correct you. Hopefully they correct you in the comments or they'll DM you.
It's the emotion center in the brain. So it's responsible for anger, it's responsible for sadness, it's responsible for happiness. And I wanted to see if there's a thing in the brain that can be responsible for drive and motivation and discipline. And if some people have it more than others.
That is so interesting.
But that'd be a hard thing, almost impossible to measure. So that and other things I decided not to pursue.
So I sit down with a lot of my boys too, and we talk about the mindset of athletes, for example, right? Like, it's so inspirational to see how they're able to get to the levels that they get to, like the consistency, the determination versus someone else. Like, how does one athlete become so successful?
Yeah.
You play the same sport, you're doing the same training, the same determination, and one just completely skyrockets and the other one is just stays average.
Yeah.
So is that something that you guys kind of also looked at in terms of like athletes and, people that are CEOs and things like that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Athletes, CEOs, like Beyonce has the same number of hours in the day as anybody else.
Yeah.
Athletes especially though, because like you said, if we've got two soccer players, they've gone to the same sport camp for all of their life and they've been trained by the same coach, but one of them makes it to Premier League, Europe Premier League, and the other, is on a plane back home to like work a corporate job. Not to say that that's a bad thing.
No, that's nothing. We're not saying that that's bad for the viewers. It's okay to work corporate and also become a professional footballer. There's nothing wrong.
Exactly, because it happens, right? They still pursue the sport in other capacities. But what was different between the two, where one made it and the other?
Yeah, the other. We're not going to use the word failure.
Defined success. Maybe that individual defined success differently.
Yeah, differently. Yeah. No, very interesting research. We could talk about that all day because even when we were talking about it on the phone, we're just like, I feel like if I really wanted to talk about this for the rest of the night or just continue talking, it's a discussion that can just continuously go on, And I think a lot of people would actually want to know, like, how someone's mindset, like the LeBron James, the Ronaldos and people at that level, how they stay consistent. Very interesting. But just switching gears a bit, you do a lot of community work. I think this is one of the things that inspired me a lot, just with a lot of stuff that you're doing besides your professional role. And you've been able to help the community, like the African community and some of the stuff they're doing. I really want you to dive into that. And one thing I want you to elaborate on is why you actually started a movement called We Are the Movement. I used movement twice, but and just your determination and why you actually started that and what it represents. Are you able to dive into that?
Of course. There was a few things that went into me making that decision for myself. Funny fact, I never really identified with my blackness or my Africanness growing up.
Okay.
So I just didn't feel like, I guess Australia in the early 2000s didn't really have room for cultural diversity as it does now. So I stayed away from the reality that I was a black female. But growing up, just going back to my upbringing, growing up, my dad had a lot of involvement in the Ghanaian community. Okay. He was, there was an association for which he played a pretty big role. And seeing that, I became aware of just how much one individual can do for like the masses. Yeah. And that really inspired me. But I think it was 2020 when the BLM movement erupted. Yeah. I think I capitalized that. Okay. Because I'd always wanted to do something to help fulfill the potential of an individual. But I decided to focus on Africans and Caribbeans because of what was happening at that time. Yeah. I felt like it was a season for it. I wanted to be part of the change that was already happening. And so, in essence, what I've come to define my life's purpose as is being the catalyst or contributing to the success or contributing to an individual fulfilling their potential, starting mostly in the African and Caribbean communities, because I understand their lived experience. It's my lived experience, and I want to influence change. Why did you feel at one stage you didn't identify with your blackness? Was that something? Is that the people that you just hung around, or like what kind of gave you that mentality, should I say, to feel that you didn't connect to being black? I think maybe it was the people I was around, but maybe it was an internalized racism. Oh, okay. Maybe where I just disassociated or associated rather blackness to just not being quite as good. Yeah. And I think I don't know what influenced that thought process. Now that you ask, I probably need to like sit with myself for a little while and figure out what, because I guess if I may ask, did you, growing up, because you've grown up in Sydney, similar time frame to me, did you ever at all feel that?
It's a very good question. For me, it's like everybody that I've hung around, like, so what would happen is like with school, there wouldn't be that much people that are the same color as me. And then when I played sport, there was people that were the same color as me. And then when I also hung around with my friends within the community, or even the area, they were black. So for me, it was like I had the combination of both worlds. And I always identified to being, you know, who I was, because I always had those people around me. Like even growing up, you know, people like Charlie, Davis, Junior, like CJ, Maxwell, like these are my friends growing up. So we always stayed true to, you know, who we were at the time. Maybe because we had we do have such a close circle. I think that's why it was always so evident. I was always in front of it all the time. Then when I knew I was going to play soccer, whether there was people that weren't black, I kind of just knew how to connect with them. So I never really like disconnected myself from anything. I knew how to kind of move. You know, Jay-Z always says this quote, I probably even forget what it is, like, you know how to move in a room full of vultures. Like you just know how to like move around different groups. And I think that's just the way I kind of, but then it would be different if I grew up in, let's say like Castle Hill or something, and I went to school where it was all, you know, white people, and I was doing things, everything was just white. You know, I don't know at that time if I would have felt different. But it's very interesting. Like, you know, we talk about this stuff also for the viewers too, because a lot of people do go through these type of things. It's a serious topic, you know? And so that's kind of how I felt growing up.
And I think identifying with my blackness was an empowering experience for me. And so like you said, the viewers who do relate to that, part of my community work is to highlight and put more on a pedestal just how beautiful and powerful it is to embrace your roots.
100%. 100%. And I think, like you said, that whole, you know, Black Lives Matter movement, I think that was very powerful. And I think a lot of people's mentality shifted at that time, even people that weren't thinking that they connected to being black, but just seeing something like that happen in the world, I think, you know, you can't block your eyes from that. You look at it and you're like, okay, I relate to him because I am the same color as him. And they could have put anyone in that situation, and, you know, it would have been the same outcome because of your color. So, it's a very interesting one. But look, we're definitely going to have another episode where we dive into that stuff, because I think that's very, very important. And thank you for that. So one other thing that you've been able to achieve is that in October 2021, you also received a nomination for She a Change Maker Award. Did I get it correct? She a Change Maker Award. I was trying to speed it up, but I broke it down. Even when I saw it in your bio, I was like, She a Maker, and I just wanted to make sure I got it right. But that award is recognized for women that have done a lot of things within the community. Does it specifically connect to Black community, or is it just in communities in general?
It was, I think, for diverse community, diverse women. Yeah, so people of color, so to speak, or women of color.
So what did that award mean to you? Like, no, I mean, just being recognized. Like being recognized for that award. What did it mean to you? And how did it make you feel being nominated? Did you expect it?
It was humbling. I definitely didn't expect it. I received a couple of texts when I was at work, and when I'm at work, like, I don't spend a lot of time like outside of what I need to do for work. So I got a few texts, and I didn't really engage with them. And I was like, I'm just going to read one. And then I saw a screenshot of like my face on the nomination page. And then I read the message, and it
So were you drinking water at the time and you spat it out? Or what was it like when you...
If I was drinking water, I would have spat it out. I had to maintain composure though, because I think my colleagues wouldn't have fully understood my random excitement, but they were really happy for me as well. What did it mean? It was very humbling. It was kind of a nod from the universe to say, like, you're doing the work needs to be done, and we're going to equip you to continue doing that work. So what I often say to my team, we are the movement, is the movement wasn't made for me. It's not mine. It doesn't belong to me.
Correct.
So I actually, because there was prize money that was awarded to the top 5 runner-ups, I think it was,
Okay, yeah.
Distributed all that money to everyone in the team.
Oh, awesome.
Because it wasn't a recognition for me, even though I think the idea was born out of me. It wasn't born for me.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's deep. Yeah.
So
yeah,
it was humbling, and it was a nod to say, keep putting in the hard yards, keep doing the late nights. But this isn't for me.
Yeah.
The recognition's for them.
For them, yeah. And what do you think inspired you to become this person, or give you this? I like to call it like, because giving back to the community, or just giving back in general, like, you don't need to be like, people think that you need to be like a millionaire, or you need to have a certain status to give back. No, I kind of believe like being able to give back, it should just come from your heart, or it doesn't matter how much you have, you should just be able to give back,
Yeah.
What inspired you to become like someone that just gives back? Is it just from what your upbringing is with your parents and what you saw them do for you, you wanted to do for other people? Is that what it was like?
That's exactly what I was thinking of as I was thinking of an answer to the question. It's like, the first thing I thought of when you asked that question is I want to pay it forward. Just, I feel like the gift that my parents have given me in the way of my upbringing and just the family I have come from, I think that's a gift. It's a blessing. And I could never be... I think I could never really express my gratitude to God and of course my parents set the pace for the person I am.
I can even feel the energy, like your parents would have done a lot. No, it's good, yeah, because I also, even my parents is exactly the same situation, so I understand exactly where it is that you're coming from, and like I can just feel it, which is and like especially with all your siblings, knowing some of the stuff that they're doing, they're so successful, like in the field that they're in, and it paints a big picture of where you've come from, like the foundation that your parents have laid for you. So no, that's really, really good. And this is why I started the whole Black Wealth Connect movement, because for me, it's like also being able to find a foundation for our community, for everybody that's doing something that's inspiring, that could help, within financial literacy. But the wealth itself doesn't always mean just money. It means a wealth of knowledge. You have a wealth of knowledge. People are lawyers, like, Dang, we're in the office. He's been able to give this to me. He's a lawyer. There's so much wealth of knowledge within our community. If we can bring this together and be able to talk about it like this, it's really humbling for me. And I like to know what people have done. Yeah. And just hearing their stories. Everybody has a story.
Everybody. So, what inspires you to want to give back?
For me, it's like I've got to a point in my life where I did go through certain things that were bad, like in terms of, like, I'll give you an example. Growing up, I didn't have any financial skills. I had to learn the hard way. I had credit defaults. I was buying things I shouldn't have bought. I was doing things, I saw my parents lose a house at a young age, and just seeing all the mistakes that they made. And then my mum always used to tell me, oh, Fabrice, you should get into finance, all right? And I asked myself, like, I don't want to get into finance. I wanted to become a professional soccer player at that time. And then I thought, you know what, like, I'll just give it a go. And I went to a job interview at the company I work for now. And I just said to myself, if I get this job, let me try and learn as much as I did. I learned so much about financial literacy. I've been in that company, or I've been in finance for about 10 years. And all the mistakes that I've made, I'm like, you know what? I never want anyone to go through the mistakes I want. So I want people to know about financial literacy, credit reports, everything. You're going to buy a phone. What does that mean when you buy a phone and you're making, if let's say you don't make repayments anymore, what does that look like when your credit file gets damaged within the next 5 years? You can't buy a home, you can't buy a car. And this is through your youth stages. You need to drive a car. You need to, you know what I mean? So all this stuff really inspired me. So for me, it was just to cut a very long story short, because I could literally dwell on this all day, but it was just for people to not make the same mistakes I did. And everybody needs financial literacy. Yeah. So, and just, so that's what, so moving into the world of finance and, what you specialize in terms of recruitment, I want to start off by asking you, so did you always want to get into recruitment around the financial sector, or was it just something that you happened to fall into?
Yeah, I when I was going through university, doing my PR degree, I said to myself, it's either going to be PR or HR.
Wow.
PR or HR.
Okay.
HR because I want to have an influence on internal policies that affect employees.
Yep.
So when I decided to make a career move, I decided to pursue a role in recruitment. I started in legal recruitment. After legal recruitment, I happened upon financial recruitment. So there wasn't any real intentionality there, but it's a very lucrative space, very lucrative.
In recruitment space, did you know that you wanted to start off in the legal part, or did you just know, or you just wanted to get into any type of recruitment at that level?
Any type of recruitment, but legal stood out because I got two sisters in the legal industry. And I was like, my parents are going to love this. Like 3 kids in the legal industry, why not? But yeah, I decided to course correct or change the direction of my course and go into financial.
Was that just because you didn't, like after a while, legal just didn't connect with you?
No, well, in fact, and I've been very open about this story because it's been like a catalyst for a lot of the success I've experienced over the last 2 years. So at like the peak of COVID, when COVID first was a thing, March 2020, I won't ever forget that's when it really started because of what happened. I actually lost my job in legal recruitment. And that dented my sense of self so much. And whilst it did, I also gained a sense of I need to be the creator of my destiny and I need to like go for what I want.
That is powerful.
And then that's when financial services came into the picture. It's been an industry that's probably been the least affected by COVID.
Now that's wow, because my mum always tells me, you know, when one door closes, when one door closes, another one opens, and I kind of feel like that what you just said relates to that so much, because you know sometimes when you think you're at the lowest point of your life, it probably works out better in their favor. It works out better that you are at that point, at that stage, because you're going to realize what's going to happen for you in the future. So did you feel like you had one of those moments when you then got into the financial recruitment and that kind of just woke you up a lot?
Absolutely, because in that same year I founded the movement.
Oh, really?
So that's when I got the job in financial services recruitment, and then the movement was born in that same year. So it was kind of like, like you said, one door closing in order for another to open. But as well, sometimes like we need to be forced into our destiny.
Exactly.
We won't step into it, and so God was like, she's not
ready.
She thinks she's not ready. She's ready. So I'm gonna push her in.
And you definitely got pushed in. With 2 hands
and a foot.
A foot. It was. That's awesome. How long have you been in the recruitment space for now?
3 years. This month.
Okay. That's awesome.
So I started in July 2019. And I wouldn't look back.
Wow, that's awesome. So you feel like at this point you found your purpose and you found what you want to do in your professional side of things. That's awesome.
That's it.
That's awesome. And for people that want to get into like the recruitment space, what is it like to do you need qualifications to get into it, or like?
I think you have to really, really want it.
Okay.
Because it's not a walk in the park. It's something that. It's fueled by passion, resilience, and like elite organization skills, because you're spinning so many plates at once. So I'd say there's no previous qualifications that's needed. It's quite easy to get a job in recruitment. I mean, if you jump online and find a job in a company that you like, you know, just apply. That's pretty much it. And you're like if you've got people skills, you are able to be organized and manage multiple things at once, then, you know, you get the job. But making a career out of it, I think it has to come from a place of passion and like true, sincere desire. So
can a lot of people do those type of roles?
A lot of people can. So it's like project managers. That's kind of like, so it's not specific to the finance industry, the kind of roles that I recruit for, but I recruit for them in the finance industry. So you mentioned accountants, credit assessors, which is very specific to the finance space.
Yes,
that's not the case in the type of roles that I recruit for. Mine they're more general roles, but I recruit for them in the finance space. So yes, there's plenty of candidates out there that would be suitable, but we get very clear criteria from our clients.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, because I could imagine like, those type of roles, I mean, how much experience do those people actually need for them? Or can you get somebody that's fresh out of high school to do those roles, or are they specific? How much years of experience do you actually need?
So here's the thing about recruitment agency, so external recruitment that a lot of people don't know about. The kind of roles we recruit for are quite often specialized, and they do require very specific skill set. So the kind of recruitment I do, there's not a lot done in the entry level space. So graduates, high school, or entry level rather, there's not a lot of roles there. Mine is 10 plus years experience, subject matter expertise, and really strong communication skills.
Oh, wow. That's excellent.
Because we're headhunting people, right? So if you're being headhunted, that's on the premise that you are the best at what you do. That said, there are other recruitment roles, there are other roles in the recruitment industry that are entry level, but in the space I work in, I don't do much there.
So when you say headhunting, so you're basically just finding people on companies like LinkedIn and things like that, right? For people that might not know what that specifically means, the headhunting.
Of course. So it's like being scouted by a modeling agency. It's like we're scouting people, being scouted. If you're like a soccer player, you're being scouted by like, I don't know what the words.
They got agents and things like that.
So we're scouting like the best talent on LinkedIn often is where we go. Or
how often, how well does that work? Like scouting people, like that's one question I actually really wanted to ask, because you can find people that have been in roles for like 10, 15 years and some people become dinosaurs in their industry. Like they literally just become part of the shelf.
Yeah.
Like how hard is it to get people to actually change roles when they have been in companies, they know systems, they understand that stuff?
Yeah. So that's why the work we do is all encompassing, and you have to really want it, because I could call James, who has all the skill set, he's got everything my client needs, but he doesn't want a job change right now. So how am I going to convince him that not only is this going to pay more, it's a great opportunity for his career trajectory, but he should leave a company that he's been at for the last 5-7 years and move into a new role. You need to really have resilience, and you really need to be able to latch on to what is at the core of a person, what matters to them, and leverage
like
that.
Their values and things like that.
Yeah, like what are their big long-term goals, and how is what I'm offering them going to help?
Yeah, because I kind of feel like the younger someone is, this is just from what I see, the more willing the more that they're willing to be able to change roles. Like I feel like because our parents come from a generation where they were like, okay, they would start a role, be in those companies. Loyalty was like a massive thing back in those days. Like, I want to stay loyal to my company and that's it. So do you find that like the age bracket is easier to kind of change someone's perspective on wanting to start something new?
Absolutely. Yeah, the younger they are, the more willing they are to change. Interestingly, in high school, it was university, we did like job entry courses, like how to be employable. And they tell us that not staying at a place for too long is good for your CV. You want to kind of go from place to place, get a feel for other environments. But that's actually probably one of the worst things you could do for your career. Because
it looks bad on your resume.
It's like, how come X person hasn't stayed in a role for more than 6 to 12 months at a time? Gotcha. So it is easier to convince someone who's more junior in their career to move, because I think they want a taste for what's new. But yeah, definitely older generations, our parents, they've got this sense of loyalty that they want to pledge to their employer. But in the project space, a lot of the employment contracts are on a contractual basis. So 6 and 12 months in duration.
Okay.
So for that space, it's a little bit different.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, because in the line of work that I'm in, I know someone, I saw an email float around. I don't want to talk too much about it, but like someone had been in the company for 43 years. 43 years, and now they've moved on to another financial institution. I'm thinking to myself, 43 years, like you're already, Look, I'm glad that he's gone ahead and done something new, because I wouldn't be in the company for 43 years. But like just seeing that, like that's what I'm talking about, the difference between like if this person was like hadn't been in a company for 43 years and let's say they were there for 5 years and they were younger, they would have been more open to doing it. But that's why I was asking you around the whole age thing. Also, I want to talk about like cultural fit. Like, you know, I think that's a very important thing, because I went for a job interview years ago in Sydney, where we are right now. And what had happened was I went through three interview stages. The first one was basically to determine if I can do the job. The second one was around meeting the managers, so who I'll be reporting to. And then the third one was if I fit culturally within that company. And I was thinking to myself, I've never actually done a third interview to fit in culturally. So I want to know, is that something that is quite common now, that people have to fit into a company culturally? And when we say culturally, it doesn't mean we're not talking about race. We're talking about what the company has built for themselves in terms of the people that they want to hire. Is that common?
Is it common?
Because they threw me in the deep end. I was like, bro, I can sit anywhere.
What was that process of like cultural assessment?
Oh, so what they did was, now it's a good question, because I had to go into the company.
Yeah.
I think I had to meet a lot of their senior people. Like a lot of the senior people.
Was it a senior role?
No, it wasn't a senior role. It was just around credit. So I was just doing credit lending. But I think because it was a small company, it wasn't a huge company. So I think because the company was small, they wanted to see if I'll fit in the culture of that small organization.
Interesting.
Versus if you work for a big company, like I'll just throw out one there, like CBA or something or whatever. Because they're such a huge company, like, do they really have a culture? Because there's so many people in those roles, you know, so many nationalities, races, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, do you find that common?
Yes and no. It definitely has its part in the recruitment process, and sometimes it's for the candidate. Or sometimes it's for the company. Sometimes it's for the candidate, because they might have multiple offers on the table and they might just say, well, I just want to just do this one extra piece. If it's for the company, that could often be because they have multiple options to choose from, multiple candidates to choose from. Because most companies don't want to waste time with 3-stage interviews. It's a necessary evil, because they have 2 incredible candidates and splitting hairs for those candidates. And so they need to just add that layer.
Got you.
It has its place, and it can be a necessary evil, but it's not all the time that it happens.
Can I just ask you a question off the record? I know we did, you know, we did organize like some of the questions, which is fine, but I wanted to ask you is, do companies want recruitment agencies to get involved with them because it makes it easier for them having to go out there and keep looking for people, or rather just outsource it and get people to bring them in? Like, is that?
There are some companies out there that see the value in it. A lot do. You often get the bigger corporates that employ recruitment agencies because it's often for harder to fill roles. So that's why they pay the money for someone else to do it. So they are bigger corporations that do typically employ the services of recruitment agencies. If it's a smaller organization that have the budget for it, then yeah, they will. But yeah, I can't really give you a ratio of how many.
Got you. Now that's fine. And do companies so basically if they want, let's say, for example, they use a recruitment agency. Do they tell you what type of candidates they want you to find, and you need to determine? So let's say, because you would work with a lot of companies, right? So do you need to specifically know what each company are looking for?
Absolutely.
And when you see a candidate, you're like, yep, you'll fit in that company. Yep, you'll fit in that company. You'll fit in that company. You have the experience that ticks all the boxes. Is that how you kind of recruit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You get a brief and you follow the brief.
That is awesome. So in terms of like payment structure, so I'm going to try and break this down as easy as I can. So payment structures, because I've always tried to understand when going through a recruitment like agency to find a job. Like sometimes I would be like, they'll ask me like, how much do I want? Let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, I throw out a number like 100K a year, right?
Yeah.
So then they'll turn around and they'll basically say, oh, we can offer you 90, we can offer you this, that. So is there something that recruitment agency needs to negotiate with that company that you could potentially be working for to understand what the payment structure is like? How does that work?
Yeah. So upfront, if a recruitment agency's told you that this client can pay, this role rather can pay $100,000 a year, that's what your salary is going to be, and there's no hidden agenda or no hidden fees that you pay to the agency. Okay. That's the first thing. Yeah. How a recruitment agency gets paid, they have terms, conditions that are often signed off by the company before they begin or just before the engagement begins.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's very interesting. Yeah. I never knew that, because I've always wanted to know how, because you see so many things around like the payment. And also one thing I wanted to ask you, let's say, for example, does it vary when you get it? Let's say you go through a recruitment agency and that person gets the job, right? So you select the candidate, they go for the job interview, the job is verified. Yep, you got the job. Yeah. So how long does it take for that person to actually become part? Because sometimes you still get paid from the recruitment agency, right? Or because I've had that before. For example, companies like Hayes. I'm just throwing this out there. I don't know all Hayes' policies, but just from my experience with what I've done, I've gone through companies like Hayes, and then I would still be on their payroll, and then a couple of months down the track, that company will then make me part of their payroll.
And so you don't.
Then I don't have to really report to them anymore. And do you guys go through the same process in that, or not necessarily?
No, that's
So as soon as that person goes for the job interview, that they become connected to that job or that organization straight away.
It depends on the terms of the contract.
So it always terms. Okay.
Yeah, it always comes down to the terms of the contract.
Okay, now that's awesome. So how competitive is the recruitment space at the moment? Because I feel like there's so many companies out there. Do you literally, when you talk to someone, they're like, oh, I've just been contacted by heaps of other recruitment agencies. Is that what you find common when you speak to people? Yeah,
it's such a common occurrence. And that's why recruitment is a game of resilience and determination and hunger for what you want. Because you want to be the first one to speak to this really incredible candidate who's going to get contacted by 10 other agencies for the same role. So it's a very competitive space.
Okay, awesome. And I mean, is it based on commission? Like I know that you guys would probably get paid a straight up salary, but is there also commission involved? Because depending on how many candidates you get into organizations,
there is. There's commission involved. So I don't know how all agencies work, but you'd want to, if you were to go into recruitment, you'd want to go into a role or a company that pays base and commission.
Okay. Oh, awesome. And what is that base and commission to?
So you get your base salary. So
you get your base,
$50,000 a year, regardless of how many placements you make, you get that. Yeah. And then commission is based on, how many placements did you make?
How many placements? That's awesome. So with this question, I'll try and word it as best as I can in terms of the whole race as we were talking about. I just want to understand, how much does race get involved when people are actually applying for these roles? And I'll be more specific about the question because I can see that some people might come from a country where English is not their first language, for example, right? Then you go for a job interview, but they have experience in that role. Yeah. Versus someone that can communicate very well. But the difference in experience might be that someone that's come from another country has very good experience over that person. So how much does that play in a role? Are they willing to take people that just because they can communicate a bit better but don't have much experience? How does that work in that space?
I would say, conceptually, there's race never has anything to do with the selection process. Okay. But there is a drive lately for diversifying organizations. Yeah. So I have heard of briefs where they want to expand how many women they have in the business.
Elaborate. Sorry, yeah.
I know that's thinking gender. Of company. Gender, but not race. So there's a push towards, diversity and inclusion, and that informs some of the hiring processes that we're involved in.
Changing gears a bit, in terms of COVID-19, obviously we're still in a pandemic. As much as people don't act like we're in a pandemic, there's no masks too much anymore, or whatever. Anyway, we're not going to get into that because obviously it's a very serious topic. But How much has it affected the recruitment space? Like, did you find that was it easier or was it more challenging?
Yeah. So as recruiters, we are dealing with people. Like we transact with people. So you have to know people. You have to understand people. You have to be with what's present for them. And if it's a pandemic, then oftentimes that makes them risk averse, less likely to want to leave. However, on the flip side, the work still needs to be done.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I think there was definitely a lot of roles and maybe fewer candidates ready to move.
Okay.
And then during times like inflation, someone might say, well, I just need job security for now while I try and, make ends meet. I'm not worried about leaving. So it can have an impact on the person.
Okay.
But if you're good at what you do, you can convince them to overlook those hurdles and see the value in making a move.
Did you see a lot of people come, like a lot of people that you had put in positions, did they also come back because they had lost roles? It was really challenging time for you, right? Because you would have just had to, people would have been like stressed and stuff like that, having to come back. You just got me this role. Can you get me something else? And, like it was, and did you see that often or not too much?
I definitely saw a lot of people who just needed a job.
Okay, so there was more people on the market just wanting to get something as quick as possible. Yeah,
exactly. But unfortunately, a pandemic doesn't change the criteria.
Got you.
They're still looking for what they're looking for.
And one thing I wanted to ask you, just from what I see, is like, is resumes even like a big thing anymore? Because like, I don't know, I just don't, it's such an old school thing to me when I look at resumes. Like, they still want people like to fill out what their job is. Like, don't tools like LinkedIn already kind of give you, like, don't you think everyone should just have a LinkedIn and then it's easier because you're able to just see what people's have done over so many years? Or?
Okay. When I read that question, I was like, I really want to hear the thought process behind it.
Now you know the thought process behind the resume, because I think it's so ancient. Like, I don't know about you. What is your perspective on it?
So you feel, just based off that, a recruiter should be able to go on LinkedIn, see your skill set and be like, Fabrice is the one for the job?
Yeah, I feel like it should just be like, or maybe LinkedIn should just make, I think maybe they might already have it. Maybe I just don't know how to use it as much, but there should be something where it literally can just print out what your resume is, because you've already put everything on there. But some companies would still ask you for a resume, but they've actually found you from LinkedIn. It's like, don't ask, you can just see everything there. Like,
I love this one, because I get that quite often, where a candidate would be like, just go on my LinkedIn. Didn't you say you found me on LinkedIn?
Hey man, please tell me.
See, I wish they understood that LinkedIn is only just a snapshot of what you can do. No one has the full contents of their resume on LinkedIn. And if they did, it'd be very hard to digest.
I beg to differ, man. Look, I know you're the specialist. Look, I respect you, the specialist. But okay, if we look at a resume, for example, what does it have? Your skill set. LinkedIn has your skill set. Your work history. It has your work history. What are your degrees?
If that's all your CV's got, then I don't know.
Oh, okay. Is there, maybe my CV's basic. Maybe,
How many
it's
pages is your CV?
One. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's the problem. I got a one-page resume. Maybe that's why I've had struggles trying to find jobs in the past. But
you want at least your the last 5 years of your career on your CV. You want a description of the organization. You want a breakdown of your responsibilities, and you want to list at least 3 achievements.
There you go, guys. So for anyone that is working on their resume and they want to get into roles, that is specifically what most recruitment agencies look for, right?
Yeah, and because we are the middleman between you and the company's not going to be looking at your LinkedIn. We are.
Okay.
So we have to present you to the company in the most presentable and I guess easy to comprehend way. We can't send just a link to your LinkedIn. We have to send your CV.
Gotcha.
And I often say your CV speaks before you do. So your CV has to be there.
What about cover letters? Are they important or not really anymore?
My friends have asked me this time and
I
time
hate
again.
cover letters.
I don't know if I've ever read a cover letter. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Okay. Keep it to yourself. But do you find that it is? Do you find a lot of resumes that you get have cover letters anymore, or they don't? Just put it that way.
I spend such little time on the cover letter. I haven't even noticed. But the more I find, the more experienced the candidate, the less likely they are to have a cover letter.
Got you. Okay, so what are some ways you think a recruitment can change in the future? Like, what are some ways you think recruitment can change in the future? Like, do you think that we're heading towards a place where eventually, like we said, we might not need resumes, or like where do you feel that it's going based on the current market?
With the process we follow, CVs will still have a place, but maybe recruitment done differently in the future is, and this is subjective, removing names.
Removing names?
Yeah, so removing names from CVs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God, is that something that is kind of in the process now, or is that something that's?
I've heard companies are doing it.
Does that tie back to the race thing, or kind of, right? Okay, you probably can't talk about it, but okay, so just removing names from CVs and just having what people's qualifications are.
I think so.
That is awesome. Well, what do you think about that? Do you think that's a good way to look at it, like moving forward?
I think so, because if you see, I don't know how much I can elaborate on this, but I think it'd be good just to open up the shortlisting process.
Got you.
So when you're shortlisting a candidate, all you want to know is, can they do the job? I think that their name, I think, shouldn't be in there. I mean, some people may argue otherwise, or because can of worms.
The can of worms, it can open up to many different things. So what advice, so just, as we're getting closer to wrapping up this podcast, which I've had so much fun, I've actually been so engaged. Like it's been amazing. I want to wrap it up by just asking, there's still a couple more questions, but the first one is, what advice would you give to an individual that's actually looking for a role at the moment in the current market?
Yeah.
Especially with everything that's going on, we're still technically in the pandemic and there's so much stress. Like, what advice would you give?
I know I've talked a lot about, having the experience and having 5 to 10 years of experience being a subject matter expert. But even if you don't have that, you can find a way to get in front of the company and demonstrate that you have a willingness to learn and a capability to do the job by calling. Pick up the phone. If there's a number there, call the name on the job application and say, hey, this is me. I know I don't have the right skill set, but this is the reason why I think I should be considered. And there's more chances that they'll progress you to an interview. And then in the interview, you can really demonstrate yourself and really show your ability. Than if you send a CV that has none of the relevant skill set. So get a LinkedIn profile, because like you said, it's a snapshot of your skill set, and recruiters are all over LinkedIn. That's the only way that you could be found or headhunted. And just don't quit, because I know it's such a demoralizing experience sometimes when you don't have a job and you need one. Don't quit, just stay the course. Even if you're considering changing jobs but you haven't fully committed to the idea of it, I think going and applying for a job is one of the best things to do, because the best time to apply for a job is when you don't need one.
Wow, that's deep. That's actually very deep. And also using the features also of LinkedIn, how like they've implemented like hiring and all that stuff. That stuff it's important for recruitment agencies.
Yeah. If you say I'm open to work, then you will come up, you'll be highlighted to a recruiter.
Wow, that's very interesting. Now that's awesome. So just to wrap up the podcast, Edem, I want to ask you just a couple fun questions.
Okay.
I hope I said your name right then, Edem. Yeah. I'm getting better with it. Don't worry. It's practice makes perfect. So if you could give yourself, or you could go back to your 18-year-old self and give yourself, we'll make it 1. If you can give 3, it would be okay. Advice on finance, what would it be?
I think one of the key ones is financial advice isn't only suitable when you're looking to make a big purchase. As soon as you are an income earner, you need financial advice. That would be one.
So you felt like Zoe, you needed that at that time?
I could have used it. Okay. I think it would put me at a much different place to where I am now. Not to say I am bad financially, but there's certain, like you said, financial literacy that I became aware of a little bit after having spent time. My 18-year-old self, money, just because you're earning money doesn't mean that you can spend it without like budgeting. So budget well.
Budget well, yeah.
18-year-old stuff.
Yeah.
Like when you see money, your first
Your
job,
first
first
thing is-
paycheck, you just like spend it like.
You know what I would love? You know what I would love? You know what I would love? I would actually love for people to actually write a list of everything they spent on their first paycheck. I just think that would be very funny.
I think I spent a lot of mine on food.
Yeah. Like what are you buying, like McDonald's or just things like that, fries that like coming back from going out.
Exactly. And working in finance opens a world of opportunity. That's something I tell my 18-year-old self.
That's awesome. What's one of your biggest financial failures, and what did you learn from that experience?
I think not realizing the importance of budgeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like having a budget for life, like just everyday expenses, like having it clearly written out what I'm going to spend my money on.
Gosh, you would have eaten a lot of McDonald's or something. Yeah, you're budgeting. Macca's days. Listen, it's addictive. I'm not gonna lie. No, but
Clothes, you name
clothes,
it.
you name it. Yeah, the list goes on. Yeah, typical 18-year-old. Who has been your most important professional mentor in finance and why? Or just a mentor in life in general. Like if you have one in life and one in finance, that would even be a bonus.
In life, I'm definitely going to say my parents.
Parents,
hands down.
100%. Yeah.
Professional was my actual mentor. His name is Vernon. He was the global head of HR for quite a big corporation in Australia. Because he was the global head of HR, he knew a lot about the hiring recruitment process that I drew a lot of insight from. And another one for just a mentor for financial literacy is actually my twin sister.
Really? So you're a twin?
Yeah.
How come we're learning this at the end of the episode?
I am, yeah. Her name is Aram. She's very good with money. She knows how to make her money work for her. So she's been a good mentor in that space.
So born same, like twin.
Same day.
That's
same
crazy.
mom.
So who was born first?
She was half an hour.
Half an hour. So she's older than you. So she gives you that I'm older than you. Can they really use that against you when they're like... Can you really use that against someone when it was just like half an hour? I don't think you can.
When it comes down to it, she definitely makes
older
it.
Than you. Yeah. Oh, okay. Also, she's doing quite. Yeah, she's doing quite well.
Very
that's
well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And also, you have one that's also doing music too. Yeah.
Yes, I have a little sister. Her name's Mally.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Definitely shout out to her.
Definitely plugging her Instagram, MAWULR.
Please do.
She's like doing the music thing, and then my older sister Safako, who you mentioned, killing it. She's a lawyer, mom of two, married to Matthew. He's killing it.
They're doing
plugging
very well.
my whole family.
Yeah, no, please plug them all. And honestly, like we're gonna have a lot of your sisters on the platform too. I know what Safako's done for many years. She's been very switched on since I met her from day one. So definitely, I'll get her on the platform. And
last plug on my brother-in-law.
Please do, plug the whole. Keep plugging them. Yeah, for sure.
My brother-in-law, my twin sister's husband, Mark Figgy.
Yeah. Okay.
Know him.
Yeah, I know Mark. Yeah,
killing it.
He's doing very well too.
Amazingly well. Yeah, that's it for the plug.
No, 100%. Shout out to all of them. And yeah, like I said, this platform is for everyone. So it's not just for me. Like how you done the whole We Are the Movement. This is exactly the same for me too. Like this is a platform for everyone. So we're definitely going to get everybody that we can on the platform to be able to showcase everything that they've been able to do. So, Edem, I really want to say thank you very much for coming down. Like, for the short amount of time that I told you, look, are you able to jump on? You were like very responsive, and like honestly, I'm very humbled. I respect that a lot. Like that means a lot to me. Especially, I didn't give you that much notice, as I mentioned. You've been able to just come on board and be really cool about it and comfortable, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's been so fun. Like honestly, I'm even enjoying. If these cameras weren't even here, I think we would have just kept talking.
Literally.
But thank you very much. And what I'll do is if you don't mind, I will put some of your information on the platform, or we can talk about it afterwards about if anyone's able to reach out to you that are looking for any roles.
Yeah.
And even just with your community work, anyone that's able to reach out to you on some of the amazing stuff that you're doing.
Absolutely.
Completely reach out to you. So,
absolutely.
So
is this where I plug my Instagram?
Please plug your Instagram and then give yourself an outro, and I'll let you have the last words.
Okay, so Instagram is eh.dem. Full name is Edem Dokli, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and that's me.
Awesome. And we're going to have, just keep in mind before you cut it off, we're definitely going to have, this episode is going to be presented by We Are the Movement, and we're going to do a collaboration, so it's going to be amazing. And also Edem's going to put this on her platform and showcase this to the world. I think this was an amazing interview, honestly. I really enjoyed it, and look forward to having Edem again on the show. Black Wealth Connect.